What's up, everybody? Thanks again for stopping by for another edition of March 4th with Mike Bauman. I, of course, am your host, Mike Bauman. Whoever you are, wherever you are listening from, thank you so much for checking out the podcast. If you're a returning listener, I greatly appreciate your continued love and support. And if you're a brand new listener of the show, thank you so much for hopping aboard that pirate ship. You can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at March 4th Pod. The link tree with all of my stuff is in the podcast description for this episode. So that means if you made it here, then you found me somehow. And I truly appreciate each and every one of yous taking the time to check out another edition of the March 4th with Mike Bauman podcast. How is everybody doing? I hope that this finds you well as it is hitting your eardrums. I greatly appreciate you guys taking the time to listen, like I just said in my intro, which I probably need to shorten, but I've just been doing it that way for so long. You just get into a rhythm, man. But anywho, spring is in the air. For those of you who love basketball like me, we're in the thick of March Madness or March Sadness for some of you. I know that was a terrible dad joke right there, but stay with me. I've had my caffeine today. But whether your bracket is busted like mine or not, I hope you've been enjoying some hoops if you're into basketball. And if not, like I said, man, spring is in the air. And one thing I love about spring is it really is like the season of rebirth. And I'm a winter guy. Don't get me wrong. I love the cold too. I don't really like having to drive in the snow and the sleet and the ice and all that stuff. But just in terms of rebirth and renewing from an energy perspective, man, like I love that. Like I love spending time in nature, and it's hard to get out there and go on my nature walks when it's really cold, man. So I'm really looking forward to the warmer weather. The last couple of weeks, I've gotten to get out to a few trails in the area that I live that I really love, and just kind of it's one place where I can really reset, man, and just being in nature. It's really good for my mental health. And there's also so much awesome music out right now that is continuing to come out. So many great releases, so many great tours that are happening. Just where I live in the Nashville area, in the month of May alone, like it's insane. From the local scene to national acts coming through just in the month of May. Like I'm saving up my money because there's some really good shows. I've already got tickets to one of them. Two of my favorite bands are touring together. Shout out Alter Bridge and Seven Dust. I love those guys so much. And one of my best friends in the whole world, shout out Dave, is coming down for that one. And it's at a newer venue that just opened last year in Nashville called The Pinnacle that I've heard really good things about. So I feel really grateful and excited, and I feel rejuvenated as we're getting into springtime. And I hope you feel the same way. And if not, keep your head up. Keep pushing through. Like the theme of the show, March 4th, persevere, moving forward. So I hope that you guys find yourselves in a good headspace. And like I said, if not, just remember that we all go through darkness to get to the light, and it does get better. And speaking of awesome new music and rejuvenation and just a lot of cool irons in the fire and great things on the horizon, this week's guest not only really embodies what the theme of the show is all about with the things that they've gone through in their own lives, but in terms of making positive connections and having awesome new music on the way, man, like I'm just so jazzed for this week's episode. They are none other than the guys in Gouged. Gouged is a Pacific Northwest deathcore band. They're really sick. If you love heavy music, if you love deathcore, you'll love these dudes. They came out with their single Villain in 2022. They've released numerous singles over the years. They also dropped their EP Doom and Gloom back in 2024. I personally really loved Heavyweight and Thy Flesh Consumed off of that one. They dropped an awesome single called Heathen that same year in 2024. And this year, man, these guys are making moves. They signed to Overshadow in February. Shout out to Joe and Overshadow. Joe has been a big supporter of the show. He sent Gouged my way. He sent numerous awesome bands my way. Love that dude. Big fan of what he's doing with Overshadow, including signing Gouged. And their latest offering to all of you musically is a song called This Hell Your Home, which just came out on Friday the 13th in March. And it's a banger. It's awesome. It's got a really cool story behind it that ties into other new music that they have on the horizon. So I know I'm dropping a lot of teasers in this one, and I'll get to the conversation soon. But in particular, On this one, I got a chance to speak with Devin and Jacob of Gouged. And again, big fan of what these guys are doing. I love deathcore. I love all the subgenres of metal, man. Like, give me all of it from new metal to deathcore, death metal, groove metal. I'm a big fan of all of it. And these guys are sick, man. They're really talented. And as you'll hear in this conversation, in terms of processing grief and overcoming challenges and translating negatives into positives, like, and again, like I said, we're in springtime, like this season of rebirth. It all kind of ties together, man. And I just felt really grateful to get these guys on here. So shout out to Joe and Overshadow. Without further ado, I'm going to shut my big yapper and give you guys my conversation with Devin and Jacob of Gouged. Here it is. Well, Devin, Jacob, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Again, just getting ready for this bad boy. It was awesome to go back and listen from the first one, Villain, up till now. And I know we're doing this as this hits people's eardrums. The new single will be out, but we're doing it on the eve of the new single. This Hell You're Home. You guys got a show tomorrow, Friday the 13th as well. And
Hmm.
just appreciate you making time for me, fellas. So thank you so much. Of
Yeah, we
course.
appreciate you having us on.
You're welcome. Well, just as a place to start, man, especially I always tell people, man, like when you meet other people who are into heavy music, it's like the Spider-Man meme. You're like, yeah, you too, cool. So I wanted to ask you guys, especially in the genre that you're in, how did you guys get into heavier music? Like, what was the bug that bit you to go down this rabbit hole?
Oh man. Uh when I was about like 12, 13, I was listening to like System of a Down. I thought that was the heaviest thing. My brother, he was into the like hardcore music scene. And there's a band from around here called I Declare War. He was roommates with their vocalist for a while. The old vocalist, John Huber. And he's like, "Hey, do you want to go to this metal show?" And I said, "Yeah, I love System of a Down. I love heavy music." And he's like, "All right." And I went and saw them, and they were like my first like deathcore experience, and I was just ever since then I was just hooked.
Yeah, I would say for me it was about when I was in like fifth or sixth grade. I have an older sister that's like 4 years older than me. Um, and I was never like into like heavy music in general, but she was listening to like Devil Wears Prada, The Used, Under Oath, like all that kind of stuff. And the more I was around that, I started like, okay, like I'm actually really starting to like this kind of stuff. And then seventh grade into like up until high school, I was developing what is all the music that I listen to today. I got into like the deathcore stuff around like my sophomore year of high school. But yeah, it all stemmed from like my sister just blasting uh Devil Wears Prada like plagues all the time. And yeah, I think that would be my starting point.
That's sick, man. It isn't it crazy too. Like I was thinking about like how a band like that, going back to like when I was in high school, 2005, 2006, and to have the kind of longevity that they've had, man, like that's dope. Yeah, for me it was like Metallica when I was young, and then junior high was like Seven Dust, Corn, in terms of like the heavier end of things. And then I feel like just over these last, I would say, I don't know, it seems like the last 5, 6 years, it's been pretty cool from a metal perspective, all the different genres that are really at the forefront, man, including deathcore and death metal. New metal was like it got hated on for a long time, I feel like, and now it's back again, and I'm glad to see it back. But what's it been like for you guys as a band over the last few years, making a name for yourselves um, in the throes of all of this? Because it seems like it's a pretty healthy time, just as a fan of heavy music with all the different bands that are out there, whether it's like a Spirit Box or a Lorna Shore. and then you have bands from back in the day when I was young, like Korn is, Deftones are as popular as they've ever been too.
Yeah, there's
Seeing
like
band.
a
Oh,
oh,
Jacob.
there's like a deathcore renaissance kind of going on, with the rise of like Whitechapel being pretty much one of the biggest bands, in the deathcore scene, along with like Lorna Shore. Uh, it seems like all the bands from like 2006, 2007 are now making a comeback, and it's honestly kind of helping us in a way of like now deathcore is, it's back, baby. We're making the names for ourselves with, getting chances to play with some of these legacy acts. We've gotten the chance to play with, bands like I Declare War, Angel Maker, all those type of bands, and it's really it's an amazing opportunity, honestly.
Yeah, like to caveat out Jacob, like seeing bands like Whitechapel, Knocked Loose, like getting super popular and into the mainstream and like helping people understand that metal isn't just like screamy noise and aggressive sounds. It's kind of cool. Makes it a little less outsidery, which I guess that's what metal was, but you could like metal and still be cool.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I like how it's like all different ends of it is what's really cool to me are popular right now. And for you guys, even pre-Gouge, you mentioned the influences. And thanks again so much, Devin and Jacob, for taking the time. But when did you guys go from being like fans to being musicians and being like, I want to try this out?
Uh, the night I saw I Declare War the first time. I got to meet their vocalist right after, and he kind of taught me how to do some like basic mids, and ever since then it couldn't stop.
Yeah, I would say around my freshman or sophomore year of high school. Again, thanks to my sister, because we used to have this place called the Quesadilla Factory out in Centralia, and it was one of the most popular like local venues this side of like, as far as like small town venues go. And I got to see bands like Prestige, Adonaya, A Hope Not Forgotten, and then one of her good friends. They're now called Deathbreaker, but they used to be called Redeem the Exile. And she would take me to those local shows all the time. And I remember just seeing them play and just going like, I want to do this. Like this seems so much fun. Seeing them like just get up on stage and not have a care in the world and just go for it. Like that inspired me heavily.
Hell yeah, man. I feel like those early shows, yeah, those definitely leave a mark, man. Like the ones that you go to, seeing people live for the first time. Like the first show I ever went to was one of my buddies, shout out Andy. And he was in a metal band at the time called Inner Sanctum, and he was one of those dudes like that just he could sing, play guitar, drums, like just super musically inclined. And I knock around on my guitar. I'm terrible, but I'm just like a bedroom player every now and again. But when I first got guitar, he was really supportive. But yeah, I still remember that first show, man, at Vamps in Toledo, Ohio. And then they ended up playing a show in Cleveland where they were one of the opening acts for Drowning Pool, and we were like freshmen in college, and I just remember me and my buddy Dave driving to that show, and it was so cool to see a buddy of mine doing what he loved to do and getting a chance to open up with a band that like, we had listened to, when we were young, when
Hmm.
podcasts came out, that was everywhere. And I was just like, man, this is so sick. But yeah, you never forget those early shows, man. Well, and for Gouge, so Villain came out, it was 2022, right? So as we're doing this, that's about four years ago now. How did you guys come together, man, out there in the Pacific Northwest? How did you and you guys link up, Jacob and Devin?
So we were we were in a band previous to Gouge. Jacob and I were. It was called Dismembering Mary. It was another deathcore band. So him and I have worked together for a long time. That band, unfortunately, Uh, Jacob and I kind of wanted to be a little bit more serious about music. The other members were kind of just doing it for fun. No harm against that, but we wanted to be serious and like tour. Uh, and that band just kind of fell apart, and then we took a decent little hiatus and got hit up by our bass player Aaron, and kind of just took off from there. I was catching a flight to Pennsylvania with my girlfriend on a layover in Detroit, and he sent me one of the songs. I was like, "Oh, this is really good," and that was Villain.
Yeah, that was crazy because I remember you were catching the flight. I had just gotten back from Alaska and I was chilling out in the backyard just having some beers and I was sitting in a kiddie pool and you were like, "Hey, so we got this new project going on called Gouged. Are you thinking about it?" And at the time I had been burned out from not being able to tour, not being able to, you know, be in a band where everybody took everything so seriously because I've been in projects since I was like 16 and I was like, man, I don't know. I don't know if this is like if I want to even do music anymore, but after telling or after hearing Devin kind of talk about who was in it because fun fact, Aaron was in a band called Time Spent, and Dismembering Mary and Time Spent used to play shows all the time together. And so we were very familiar with Aaron. Um, I wasn't familiar with Dylan until I joined the band, and it was like we hit it off right away. Um,
Instantly.
instantly. That's the best part about this group of guys. But yeah, as soon as he told me that, who was all in the band, I was like, all right, I'm taking the chance. I'm gonna do it. And then yeah, for almost 5 years now, um, been rocking and rolling ever since.
That's sick, man. Like I feel like, listening to the EP too. And do you guys say Doom and Gloom or do you just call it Doom Gloom? Because I it's got like the two dashes in there, so I just want to
Yeah,
make sure I
it's Doom and Gloom.
Doom and
Yeah.
Gloom. Okay. Um, but even that one, like, Villain right out the gate was sick, and then listening to that one, that's such a good front to back EP, man.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed that one. You got Austin Dickey's on there as well.
Hmm.
I really enjoyed. I mean, the whole thing's good, but Thy Flesh Consumed was awesome. Heavyweight,
Ah,
I love. But yeah, man, that what an awesome front to back listen. Who did you guys record that with?
Real quick, funny that you said Thy Flesh and Heavyweight. Thy Flesh is Jacob's favorite, and Heavyweight's one of mine. So it's kind of funny. But we recorded that with Nick Burgess. He's also in a band called Dark Harbor.
Dak Abba.
He's an incredibly talented dude. He's their vocalist. And like he's a great screamer and singer. But also just a very multi-talented dude and really good at recording.
Hmm.
How did you guys link up with him?
Aaron knew him for a little while. They had networked previously, and they had plans to record the track of Villain previously before Jacob and I got there. They just had falling outs with other musicians that like didn't want to take it as serious before, and they were like, "Hey, you guys want to do this?" We went and recorded. I recorded Villain with them, and then uh, we kind of just kept going from there. Villain was with Nick, and then Doom and Gloom was also with Nick Burgess.
Nice, man. And shout out to Joseph Wofford. I hope I'm saying that right too.
Yeah.
You guys have like the intro with Doom and then you go into Null and Void. And that one
Mm-hmm.
was as well, man. But and I like how Gloom in the middle has got like sort of almost like a trap beaty kind of little
Mm-hmm.
little
Hmm.
break. We go into the last two. I thought that was cool to have that like that interlude kind of in the middle of the EP, man. But yeah, and then kind of deep dive in the Instagram, man. Like the live shows that you guys have been doing. I saw that shout out a moment's notice. You did the West Coast Damnation Tour with
Mm-hmm.
just like what, like 6 months ago ish now, like October,
November.
November
Yeah.
of 2025. And again, shout out to Sergio, man. He's been on the show. Those guys are sick as well. But what's it been like? Just even since the release of that EP, because then you guys also dropped Heathen in 2024 as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been pretty rad. Uh, Joseph, the guy who featured on Knoll, he also did like all of our music videos besides the Heathen music video. So shout out to that guy. But it's been crazy. The Doom and Gloom EP was us trying to find what we wanted to do. Heathen was us deciding what we wanted to do, and all the stuff we're gonna be putting out going into the future is I
What
feel
we've
like
decided
we
to do.
locked in.
Yeah, it's been honestly a trip. I'm excited to just keep going. I've I've been in a ton of other bands that obviously have never been able to tour, and this is the first project where like, all right, we get to get in a van and do the thing and get to go through all the little, waking up in a different state every single morning, sitting and hanging with good friends, good company, and getting to play in front of a different crowd every single night. It has been honestly just so amazing. And I'm looking forward to everything that comes after.
I will say there's no better feeling than being hundreds and hundreds of miles away from home and watching people beat the crap out of each other to your music.
That's awesome, man. Like I really enjoyed Doom and Gloom, and then Heathen. That one was sick too. I felt like that one had like a lot of atmosphere in it.
Hmm.
The artwork was really sick too, man. Who did the artwork for the single for that?
That was Maxwell. Is it Aston? I
I
can't
believe so,
remember his,
yeah.
I believe like he's done a decent amount of our artwork.
I think he did Doom and Gloom, Heathen, and oh yeah, we can say it. And for the future stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool, man. It's like for people listening, it's like there's like a creepy, shadowy dude kind of in the woods, and he's kind of coming up on like this big, I don't know if it's like a cave or just sort of this like ominous thing coming up in the woods. I'm probably describing it really terribly, but even the colors in it, the greens and the blues and like the hues that were in it were really sick. And y'all's logo is dope too. And that was like right up in the left corner. But
Hmm.
I love stuff like that because that's like very almost like like comic like vibe to me, like the hand drawn kind of stuff like that
Yeah.
look at. I love when artwork like that exists, man. That's really sick. Um and as we're recording this, the hell your home is coming out on Friday the 13th. So shout out to that. Where it'll be out by the time this hits people's eardrums in April. But I just think it's one. I'm a big horror movie fan, so I just thought it was like kind of a funny coincidence how we've had two Friday the 13th like in back-to-back months. I was like
Right.
trying to figure out like when the last time that happened was, but I'm sure as like a deathcore band too, that's probably pretty sick to be able to have a Friday the 13th and drop a new single.
Hmm.
And with the name too, this hell your home. Like I don't know how intentional that was, but kudos to you guys for doing that. But you mentioned like, Heathen kind of being the one where, you kind of like doom and gloom, you're kind of defining your sound. That one you guys felt like you went to a different level. Um, what can you tell me and the people about kind of the story behind this hell your home and sort of like building off of what you've released to this point?
So I think we all kind of sat down. We went and recorded a whole EP down in Oregon and just scrapped all of it. And then Jacob was working really hard on writing some riffs, and we kind of decided we wanted to go the more blackened deathcore route. The atmospheric ambiance, like just a full sound with deathcore. Uh, and Aaron and I were talking a lot about trying to do a conceptual album. And we were trying to do something that involves like the sigil we use, the little dagger, which is essentially a rip off of like the like a poison dagger and like a symbol for alchemy. So we wanted to do something kind of based off that, and we found out that I just was looking through different stuff, and there's a person named Mithridates who is known as the Poison King. So I just kind of looked at his life, and I took Jacob's awesome guitar riffs and just try to fit that story into those riffs.
Don't make me blush. Yeah,
Sick,
it
man.
was shortly after the session with like recording in Portland or not Portland, Seaside, Oregon, that Aaron had called me and basically said that, he wanted to go the more atmospheric, more black and deathcore style. And he was like, I need you to go crazy on everything that we do from now on. And I was like, okay, well, I need to hear you say that I get that creative freedom. And he was like, go crazy. And I spent, I don't know how long, I would just spend hours and hours in just locked in my room and just playing every single riff 100 times over and being like, okay, record. Does this sound good? Okay, no. Does this sound good? And then I finally came up with this Hell Your Home, which I think we had the main riff for that um, for almost like 2 years, but we just never knew what to put it to.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's that was kind of that moment of where like, okay, now I got to actually lock in and not just write for the topic of deathcore. I need to bring in my personal style and kind of bring in those death metal influences and just go 100% in.
Yeah, also just making the conscientious decision to try to like push ourselves as musician to just become better. And like every time we put something out, we want it to be better than what we just put out.
Hell yeah, man. I think it's so fitting too, just with the title of the song and it being Friday the 13th. I think that's awesome. But what I really love about like deathcore and death metal, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mutilatred. Shout out out of my hometown of Toledo, Ohio. If you're into death metal, check those guys out. They
All
rip.
right.
Uh, but but I like extreme music of you mentioned just like just now you guys are talking about Jacob pushing yourself like from a riff perspective and putting like your style into it, and Devin like challenging yourselves musically and pushing the boundaries. And I think that's what's cool about heavier music is it pushes those boundaries, but it's also like a really positive release of negative emotion. At least for me, it's always been like that. Like I was telling you guys before we hit record, just with like mental health and I anytime I put it on for people who maybe don't have the ear for heavier stuff, whether it's like System of a Down all the way up to like what you guys are doing. That's how I always explain it to a man. For you guys, how cathartic has it been, as you've been on this journey musically in your lives, like the heavier music, and especially now with what you're doing with Gouged?
I mean it's huge, especially for me. I have fought with depression and anxiety for a lot of my life, and I just recently lost my mom. And playing music is the main thing that's got me through it. It's like a way to be positive but still put energy into something that is I I can let the emotion out.
Yeah, I would agree. I've I've been listening to this music now for so long and dealing with the depression that I've always had and dealing with anxiety is it's always nice to feel like heavy music is kind of like my home
Hmm.
and my sanctuary. And if I ever, which is crazy because you have a band just doing pig squeals and you know just low gutturals, and anybody else who heard that would go, that makes you feel safe, but it really does, because it's that anger, it's that frustration. They lay it all out on the table. You know, I also lost a family member back pretty much right before I joined Gouged. I lost my dad, and I remember being on stage like a week after, and I was just in so much pain. But as soon as I hit that stage, man, it felt like everyone was welcoming me, and like in a mental sense of like putting their hand on me and just being like, it's okay. You can feel those frustrations, and you can feel that anger, and you can feel that sadness. Um, I remember watching an old A Day to Remember documentary, and it was Neil when he said, "You can be as depressed and sad as humanly possible the second you hit that stage and you feel the crowd roaring at you and you're playing the music that you want to play. It instantly goes away, and for that 30 minutes, that 15 minutes, that however long your set is, it just, you feel at peace. Yeah, everything is going on, but you feel like you're with your family. You feel, you know comforted. And so that's what heavy music has done for I think a lot of people's lives, is when they feel scared, they feel anxious, and they feel alone, they can put on, maybe they'll put on our record, they'll put on a Whitechapel record, they'll put on anything, and they'll just have that 30 minutes of just peace.
I appreciate y'all sharing what you just shared with me, man. And I'm also really I'm really sorry for both y'all's losses, man. Losing a parent at this stage of life, I can't even imagine. One of my best friends, who also shares our love of heavy music, lost his parents like within like 2 years of each other, just in the last couple of years, man. So um, I don't really have the words other than I'm glad that you guys have each other and this band and this music to kind of help soothe it and exercise like that pain. So yeah, my condolences for sure. And again, I'm just glad that you guys have this outlet for all of that to be able to channel it. Because I think that's like one of the things that I've found in darker moments, whether it's been, grief of any kind, some death that I've experienced in my life, or, relationships that end, it's like the music is always there. It's like the one constant, no matter what's going on in your day, what's going on in kind of the world, it's like you can always kind of turn to the music. And just as a fan of this kind of music and what guys like you do, man, like it's really helpful for me. So I'm glad that you guys, if there's any kind of, you know, piece or, words I can offer here, I'm glad that you guys have that outlet, and it makes an impact on people like me struggling, man. You know what I mean? So when you guys are ripping like that, and challenging yourselves vocally, musically on your instruments and doing it live, it's a catharsis for the people listening to it too, man. So really, really appreciate that. And again, I'm sorry for y'all's losses, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. It's the toughest thing I've ever gone through. I'm sure Jacob would share that sentiment. It's one of the you never you know life has an expiration date, but you're never ready for it. But I wouldn't ask to, or I wouldn't want to ask to do this with any other group of people other than Gouged. Everyone in that band, we are truly like a family. It's crazy to see a band that doesn't have a change in members, and we're all just kind of the OG members, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Absolutely.
Well, and there's so much awesome stuff on the horizon, man, with this single new music. And shout out to Overshadow, because I think as we're doing this, it was just last. Well, it'll be April, but this is March. It was what, February, that you guys linked up with join the Overshadow team, and shout out to Joe over there and all the
Hmm.
awesome fans. But what's that relationship like? Because all of my interactions from like Jump Street with Joe have been so positive. We've not met in person, but he seems like the coolest dude who just also loves music as well and wants to put, awesome music out there. And literally all the artists, and I'm not just blowing smoke, yourselves included, that I've had on here, that are part of the Overshadow family, have all been dope, man. Like, just both musically and his people doing these conversations, man. So what's it been like joining Overshadow and just linking up with him?
It's been super cool. As a smaller band, like obviously you get the whole label opportunity, and it's like, oh, what is this really? Uh, Joe's been super professional. Greg has as well. Shout out to Greg from A Moment's Notice.
Hmm.
We got the fortune of meeting Joe when we were on tour with A Moment's Notice down in
Yes, we
Sacramento.
did.
When we ended the West Coast Damnation Tour down there. Uh, we had never met A Moment's Notice before we went on that tour, and instantly they had their troubles getting up there with their van, but they handled it so professionally and were just, even with all that going on, in great moods. And for the rest of the tour, we're just super awesome dudes to be around. And Greg was talking about how like Joe was a really cool guy, and like he was gonna be most likely at that Sacramento show, and he wanted us to meet him. And it was just the moment we met him, it was like, oh, this guy's cool.
Yeah, I remember it was like I I had seen him in the crowd, but I didn't know who he was. And then it was like I think it was like 45 minutes before our set. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to the RV. I'm gonna just kind of compose myself and maybe have like a couple beers. And I opened the door and he's just standing right there. And I'm like, what? And then I see Aaron come around the corner and goes, oh, this is Joe. This is Overshadow. And I was like, oh, okay. And then instantly we were like hitting it off, and he was hanging out with us for like a long period of time. And then we got off, played our sets. And then towards the end of the night, after A Moment's Notice, uh, had finished up and played their set, uh, Greg just comes over and is like, "Hey, I need to see you guys outside now." And I'm like, "Oh, oh no, did we do something wrong?" And I just remember he was like, "Hey, just keep an ear out because I think Joe's interested in you." And I literally almost started crying because that was like the one moment I was like, "Hold on, this is what I've been waiting for my entire life." And we're about there's interest in us getting signed. Okay, I need to have I need to have a little moment here. Um, and ever since we've had like that group call where he was kind of like just going over what to expect from Overshadow and whether or not we wanted to sign with them. I was like, okay, this is really happening. And
Yeah, it
it's
felt
been just such a blessing. It feels so different having somebody in our corner that can help us, you know, be who we can, like the best of ourselves. And it's honestly been just like a huge blessing, like
mhm.
everything.
That's great to hear, man. Yeah, he's been really cool. When he reached out to me about you guys, I was like, hell yes, like, let's get him on, man. Because like I said, I had Don on, and Sergio, and shout out to him. It's been a minute since I hit him up on IG. We still follow each other on IG, but I hope he's doing well. I saw him posting a story riffing the other day. So yeah, and that tour had to be sick too, because I like it when bands with their own sounds like you guys, like, coming together on a tour like that to give people different ends
Hmm.
of metal like that. Like how much fun was that just playing those sets and getting to know those guys like on tour? Because like you mentioned, Devin, you said you hadn't met them before that.
Yeah, it was a blast. Like I said, night one, they were dealing with all the stress in the world of their van breaking down the day before, like, going from California to Washington. Uh, but they got there, immediately introduced themselves. We're like, hey, this is us. Like, we just started helping them bringing their gear in. And all of them were just super cool, super friendly. Uh, every show was it was awesome to see them. Like I listened to them play before, but seeing them live was super cool. And their sound compared to ours is it's a nice diversity for a crowd to listen to. But it's not too different where it's like, what is going on?
Yeah, it was honestly an incredible experience being on the road with those guys because it was the first tour that we had where we had no idea who they were or how their personalities were, and it was instantly like just the moment they showed up at the venue, we were like Devin said, we were helping them unload. We were just it was all hugs and smiles and sunshines and rainbows and uh, pretty much every day after that we were like trying to hang out.
Hmm.
um, we were pretty much with each other as soon as we rolled up to the venues, and we've gotten to have some nice moments. I remember in Oregon, they one of the I think it was Roseburg provided
Yeah.
us with an Airbnb, and we all just sat there, and I picked up an acoustic guitar and was just playing like every Metallica song I knew. Um, and then we were we got to do like I played not Paper Wings, Swing Life Away, which is a very important song, and we all kind of just ended up in a group sing along, which was
Yep.
awesome. But it was moments like that where we were all together, and it just felt nice,
Hmm.
having people that we had no idea before and just instantly become homies. And now we see each other on Instagram every once in a while, but it's nice to have those experiences. And it was
Hmm.
that tour was one to remember. I'll say that.
Yeah. They were the type of people that they were not strangers as soon as we met them. They became very good friends
Yep.
immediately after meeting them upon handshake.
That's always awesome when you meet people and you feel like you already knew them, like that instant kind of comfort level with people and you click like that. I'm excited for you guys, man. Genuinely, like it's been and thanks again so much, Devin, Jacob, for taking the time to do this and going to the places that you guys have gone with me, man. Again, I'm sorry for your losses, but without even knowing them, I know they'd be proud, man. Like doing what you guys are doing and what you love to do, and being freaking sick at that, man. Like I can't wait to listen to This Hell Your Home. So I'm just gonna manifest that since this is gonna be April when people hear this, that it's already gonna be doing awesome. And lyrically, can you tell me a little bit about where you're coming from on that one, Devin, or kind of Jacob and Devin, like what inspired the title of that song?
So essentially, like I mentioned earlier, it's about Mithridates, who is known as the Poison King, and it's a very not well known ruler that was around like the Turkey area. But essentially his dad got murdered, and he like fled to the woods and started ingesting like toxins and like things to gain an immunity to poison, because that's how his father was killed. And then he came back and took his kingdom back. And so essentially, This Hell Your Home is uh kind of him dealing with the loss of his father, leaving and going through the trials and tribulations of the mental process of his mother killed his father by poisoning him, and his family wanted him dead because they wanted the throne for themselves, not him. And that's kind of the base story that I tried to like embellish on and make it lyrically sound.
Okay, my bad too. I'm sorry. Yeah, I remember you mentioning that I just I missed if it was like it was all about just in this one song or if it was like part of like a whole like concept for like a whole new EP. My
It's
apologies
a,
on that,
no,
brother.
no, no, you're good. It is a concept to a whole EP. Uh, so it's the first chunk.
Nah,
Okay.
nah, 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 breaking news.
Okay, yeah. No, my bad. As you were explaining it, he's probably like, man, this idiot, I've already said this.
Oh,
And I was like, yeah. I didn't know if it was
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was wrapped up in because when you brought it up, I was like, oh, is it for like a whole new EP? But this song is part of like that whole story.
yeah.
Okay, okay. That's sick, man. How did you come across that? How much digging did you have to do before you came across like this story?
I'm a history nerd. I have a buddy that we play this game called Crusader Kings. It's a real-time strategy like world thing that's like back in like 862. Uh, and I just talked to him about history stuff because I'm a nerd for just different parts of like the world's history. And he went to college and specialized in like European history. And I was talking to him about like wanting to do a concept, and he's like, "Hey, do you know who Mithridates is?" And I said, "No." And he's like, "He's the Poison King." And I was just like, "Okay." And so I started talking to him, and then started doing my own research because Aaron said he wanted to do a conceptual album, and I said, "All right, let's make it like if we're gonna do something and it's gonna be poison based because of our symbol, let's do Mithridates." And there's not a ton on him, but I found like audiobooks, just different history, like or different historians like talking about him. And the fact that like there's the term Mithridatism, which is the act of ingesting toxins and poisons to gain an immunity to it. And I thought it was crazy that there was a guy that did that to have that become a name.
That is wild, man. Well, I think that's a cool story, and I'm glad that you guys like have like that kind of level of in depth into the music and have like a concept for that. So I'm excited to hear like the full piece, man. And it also makes me feel fortunate to be alive in 2026, man. When you start thinking about how gnarly things were back then, or like stuff like Vlad the Impaler, or just like
Hmm.
I remember I had a class my senior year of college at the University of Toledo, and the professor was so cool, man. But it was basically like history during like the medieval times, and dude, like I mean, there's movies and stuff out there, but just the unique ways and that they tortured people, it was like it was terrifying. I'm like, how it's like, it's like
I
they would accuse you of being like, like what not like what is it, incubus, succubus? I'm trying to remember, like, but basically like accusing you like, oh, were you like we think that you might be, a
a
witch or whatever.
witch.
And they
Hmm.
just they would just torture you, and eventually you're gonna be like, yeah, I'm a witch, dude. I'm a warlock. Please just stop
Yeah,
doing
you're just gonna say something to get him to stop.
take me out. It was a fascinating class, but it was also like it was also like I'm glad that I wasn't alive back then. It was people were terrible. I mean, sadly, there's a lot of good people in the world. Sadly, there's still a lot of terrible people, but
Hmm.
the torture mechanisms back then were insane.
Yeah.
Iron Maiden got their name from a torture device, which was
Hmm.
essentially a casket with nails inside. Basically,
Yeah.
they just shut it on you. It's the most metal name in history.
Yeah, that's gnarly. I had to look up years ago. The band Amir, when I wrote for Toledo Free Press, I got a chance to talk to Frankie. I apologize if it sounds like I'm name dropping because I don't mean to come
No.
off that way at all. Um, I remember when they were on tour. That was a cool tour. It was like God forbid, Amur. I think it was Death Punch and Kill Switch. So it was cool melding of different ends of the metal spectrum, and got a chance to talk to him. And their name is short for Immurement, which is a a form of torture from back in the day where they would basically just like build you into a like trap you into a wall, like
Hmm.
how they would kill you. Like, and so I think I asked him where the band's name came from, and he's like, "Oh, it's a Meermint," and I'm like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, another terrifying thing from the Dark Ages that happened." Um, yeah, gnarly times, man. From that stuff. Are there any shows, just since we're kind of geeking out on this stuff now, are there any shows, either Devin or Jacob, that you guys are interested in, like from a historical perspective, whether it has to do with like medieval times or stuff that's inspired by kind of, things from back in the day?
Oh, there's a show on Hulu right now called Shogun.
Yeah.
I read that book back in the day, and that show is super cool just because like that is based off of a true story. Obviously, it's a story and embellished, but it's just based off of a Dutch. They say he's a pilot, which is like he's a navigator pretty much, and they get shipwrecked onto Japan, and they're like the first like English Dutch people to ever land in Japan, and like they've never seen like those people before, and it's interesting to see like historically like what could have happened.
Yeah, I don't typically get a chance to watch a lot of shows. I think the farthest I've gone is probably, I would say, like Game of Thrones. That's probably where my mind goes to, because I typically don't watch a lot of shows or movies that aren't Marvel or DC, because I'm a huge comic book nerd, and that's kind of just where I go to for everything. So I think, yeah, Game of Thrones would probably be the most medieval piece that I can refer to for that.
Well, shout out to Marvel and DC too, man. Yeah, Marvel's like for like 20, I think what the first Iron Man was 2008. I remember seeing that in theaters with Robert Downey Jr. I love the Marvel stuff, but I've always, at heart, I'm like a Batman guy for sure, man. Like growing up with like the Michael Keaton Batmans, and I loved Jim Carrey as the Riddler. I had that Batmobile when I was in first grade. That was like a Christmas present. That was like one of the coolest toys that I had for a while. Um, and then the Dark Knight movies, I loved all those, man. Like the Christopher Nolan. Like, I mean, Heath Ledger's Joker was like that's probably like a top five performance of like any movie I think that I've seen. Just how deep into that character he got, man. But yeah, man. Shout out to and the superhero stuff's been like all these universes now, man. Like it's crazy, all the spin-off shows, and like
Hmm.
it's wild, man. It's wild. Well,
So,
before
fun fact,
we'll go,
we actually had a song blow up because they thought it was in a Marvel movie. Um, so our track "Null and Void" is spelled Knull, like Null, the god of the symbiotes. And he was featured in the last Venom movie, the Venom 3. And one of the tracks on the end credits was called Null and Void. And apparently a lot of people looked that up, and we were the first thing to show up on their Spotify. So we just saw a boost of numbers randomly, and I think someone in the group chat was like, what's going on with Null and Void?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, apparently we were in the Venom 3 movie. We didn't get any royalties, and I'm upset about it."
that's awesome. Hey, however they can find you with these algorithms, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
If you get an organic search on Null and Void, yeah, that's sick though. I mean, yeah, I'm just really excited for this year for you guys, man, and going forward. I can't wait to hear it with everybody else. I guess just as a place to leave people. And thanks again so much, Devin and Jacob, for taking the time, man. I feel like I could talk to you guys for like 2 more hours, but I want to chew your ears off.
Oh,
Oh,
But
appreciate
you're
it.
welcome. You're welcome back any time on the show, man. What can you tell me and the people without spilling anything or getting me in trouble with Joe or getting you in trouble with Joe about what's on deck for 2026 beyond the stuff that we've discussed already?
New EP coming early summer. This Hell Your Home is the first single off of it. Uh, I think it's the best thing we've ever done. Uh, that's my opinion. But that and we're just trying to plan shows, tours, keep doing the dang thing.
Yeah.
And anything that you guys with the things that you've been through in your lives, and I know we're still kind of at like the early part of the year with the theme of this show being like March 4th and perseverance, and we've talked about how music, has been cathartic for us in terms of mental health and for you guys processing your own grief. Is there anything that's helped you guys get through beyond the music? Um, for somebody out there who might be struggling, whether it's death, whether it's depression or anxiety, like, obviously this show's for entertainment purposes. I'm not a doctor. Uh, you know, we're three dudes talking about, music and stuff, but everybody goes through, darkness in their life, but there's always light on the other side of that. And there's different healthy ways to cope. And anything that you guys want to share to somebody out there listen to this who might be going through some darkness right now, stuff that's helped you.
I would say the biggest thing for me is things are gonna get dark. You can't control it. You can control how you react to it, and that doesn't mean you have to be stoic and not feel anything. You got to allow yourself to process. You have to allow yourself to deal with emotions. You can't just bury things away. That's how blow-ups happen. Um, Therapy's been big for me. I've talked to a therapist and they've helped me out through a lot of stuff. Um, have a group of friends that you can rely on and don't be afraid to be like, hey, I'm not feeling great right now. Can we talk about some stuff? Even if it's to get your mind off of stuff. Have those friends around you and utilize those true friendships that are there for a reason. And just find healthy outlets.
Yeah. Honestly, I would say, just don't lose hope. Have, talk to the people in your life that care about you and, you know, would hate to see this world without you. Um, Talk to your friends, your family, have a conversation with somebody on the bus and just be like, "Hey, how's your day going?" Um, and you don't even have to open up about like what's going on in your life. Just have a conversation with somebody, and that can be great for, just keeping your mind off things. Obviously there's some dark stuff in the world, and everything that's going on that's happened, you know, there are still a lot of good in this world, and we just got to hold on to that. And if music is your outlet, hold on to that, whether you listen to metal or hard rock, hip hop, punk, whatever it is, go go lay on the floor and put on your favorite record and just sit there for a while. It's great. You know, go into an empty room and just sing your heart out. Dance a little. Anything that brings you joy, do it, because that will, just like everything else, it'll give you just that glimmer of hope, and you'll know that everything will be okay.
I appreciate y'all sharing that, man. Well, Devin, Jacob, I really appreciate the time. Thanks for giving me more than an hour of your time, especially with the time difference, being in the Pacific Northwest. And I got to get out there, man. I got a couple of friends. Shout out Dom and Nicole. they're in the Portland area, man, and I love those guys. They're two of my really good friends from Nashville. We met here, and they fell in love, and then they moved out there. But it's I know the Pacific Northwest is beautiful, and some of my favorite music has come from out there, and I'm getting a chance to discover awesome new music like you guys from out there. But I think it's sick that you guys are putting on for the Pacific Northwest, and I'm just excited for you, man. I probably sound like a broken record, but in general, man, to link up with Joe and Overshadow and A Moment's Notice, all these awesome bands, and to have music that you're proud of, that you guys are busting your butts on, and that's translating with people, man. So everybody go run up the numbers on This Hell Your Home. Go back and listen to Doom and Gloom. Go back to listen to the OG Villain, and get up to speed on Gouged if you're not familiar. But I really appreciate y'all's time, and I'll put the links in the podcast description. But let them know where they can find you if they're not familiar with Gouged.
You can find us on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, uh, YouTube. You can find us on anything. Go give us a like and follow at Gouged PNW on Instagram and all the other socials. And
You
we
got the
appreciate you having us
TikToks.
on.
You got
What?
the TikToks, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the I don't think we have any of the X or threads, but you know what?
Also, huge
It's a
shout out
great
to Cameron
opportunity.
Neely from Diseased and Depraved for recording this new EP and This Hell Your Home. Recording, mixing, and mastering,
A jack of all trades.
and being a great vocalist and guitarist in a really good band.
Absolutely.
Shout out, man. Hell yeah. Well, Jacob, Devin, thanks again so much, dudes. Again, I'm really grateful for the time. And I'm sorry for your losses, but I'm glad that you guys have each other and you have this band and you have these healthy outlets. And I appreciate what you share with me and the people at the end of this here, man. But really appreciate you guys, and you're welcome back anytime, man.
Thank you. Thank you for
It's
having
been an
us.
honor. Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Alrighty, dighty, there you have it. That was my conversation with Devin and Jacob of Gouged. Make sure you go follow these guys on Instagram at GougedPNW. The link tree with all of their stuff will be in the podcast description for this episode, so you know what to do. Scroll down to the bottom of that podcast description, hit those links, and go follow and support my new friends in Gouged out of the Pacific Northwest. Once again, their latest single, This Hell Your Home, just came out on Friday the 13th in March. So go run up the numbers on that single. Keep your eye out for future music from these guys. And yeah, man, had a lot of fun talking to these dudes. I just want to say directly to Devin and Jacob, thank you so much again, you guys, for taking the time to come on this podcast and share your story with me, with Gouged, and walk me and the listeners through not only your musical process and the forthcoming EP and This Hell Your Home, but also, man, I appreciate you guys opening up and sharing with me, how you process grief with the losses that you've had in your lives. And once again, I'm truly sorry that you went through all of that, but at the same time, I'm happy that you have this band and this music and your musical abilities and gifts to channel all that negative energy into, and the fact that it's translating into positivity is really what it's all about. So shout out to you guys, man. Shout out to Gouged. Shout out to Joe from Overshadow. I want to say thank you directly to Joe as well. Thank you so much, my guy, for believing in the podcast and continuing to send me awesome artists for this podcast. I really feel the love from everybody, man. I'm really grateful. And once again, you can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at March 4th Pod if you want to hit me up. And yeah, I appreciate everybody being a part of this journey with me. I'm a bit of a goofball, and I know I can gab with the best of them, but I really love doing this, man. I've in the last 5 years, in particular, in the ups and downs that I've been through, man, like doing these conversations, it makes you realize like how many people go through gnarly events in their lives, man, and how you deal with it and how you channel it. Everybody's different, but having a positive outlet like music, to channel all of that. Like, I really believe music can move mountains, and it's moved mountains in my life, and it's helped me get through a lot. So again, big shout out to Devin and Jacob and everybody in Gouged. Shout out to Overshadow. Shout out to Joe. And shout out to all of you for listening. I really appreciate it. You can also watch the podcast now on YouTube, starting with episode 205 and the awesome dudes and ourselves, among others. So, one thing that goes a long way in helping get Gouged out to more people is if you like and subscribe to the podcast. That way you don't miss any future episodes. And also, if you take the time to leave a rating and a review on the show, from what I understand in the algorithms, it goes a long way in helping get the podcast out to more folks. And ultimately, that's what I want to do. I want to put more people onto Gouged, to Overshadow, to people who are doing great things, man. So thank you so much for listening. Keep the faith and be kind to one another and be kind to yourselves. I hope you have an awesome rest of the week. Courtesy of Gouged, here is their latest single, This Hell Your Home. Peace.